Hey, what's up, guys? 2020 is shaping up to be an amazing year if you're a mixed martial arts fan, particularly the UFC and the lightweight division. Not only is McGregor coming back January 18th of 2020 for a fight, he's got 3 fights planned. In today's video, I'm going to talk about those 3 upcoming potential matchups, the implications they hold for the division, and also just some history on how we got here exactly. So stay tuned. Now, how did we get here exactly? It all stems back to November 12th of 2016 at UFC 205 when McGregor would go on to beat Eddie Alvarez in spectacular fashion with a second-round TKO. Now, at the time, he became the first UFC fighter to hold 2 titles in 2 different weight classes simultaneously, an achievement was never done before. It has actually happened since with the likes of Daniel Cormier. But McGregor was really looking for the next big challenge, the next mountain to climb. After achieving what he did, there were talks about a potential bout at 170 to cement a trifecta against then-champion Tyron Woodley, and that never really played out. It never happened, and there's a couple of reasons. I don't think the fans were really that interested, and being that the UFC just wasn't that eager to make it happen. McGregor really had his eyes on Mayweather. This is a fight that, even though he's not a professional boxer, he's competing in the UFC, he wanted the challenge. He wanted the man who was 49-0, who had never been defeated at boxing. He wanted to be the first one to beat him, even though he himself is not a professional boxer. How amazing would that have been? Now, with all that said, McGregor, he has great hands. He's a southpaw. He could definitely throw off the rhythm of Mayweather and, potentially put up a good fight. I don't necessarily think anybody, at least true boxing fans, thought he could win. But just, when it comes to fighting, at any given time, anybody could win. You could land that lucky punch, and McGregor certainly has knockout power. With that said, while from a performance standpoint, it didn't quite pan out how McGregor had hoped, though lasting to the 10th round and actually landing a few clean shots himself, regardless of the performance, the payday was phenomenal. Some put it in the ballpark of him making about $100 million for that fight, which obviously was a big motivating factor. After getting such a huge payday from that bout, the motivation to fight again in the UFC kind of waned. He knew he wasn't going to get nearly the payday he had with Mayweather, and he had a couple business ventures on the side that kept him busy. One such was creating his own fashion line with his personal tailor, David August, called August McGregor. And I don't think any of us can doubt McGregor's got great style, so it's probably going to be proved to be a pretty lucrative business for him. Aside from that, he also came out with Proper 12 whiskey, Irish whiskey, why not? Seems like a can't-lose business opportunity there as well. While those 2 business ventures certainly kept him busy and kept the money flowing, unfortunately it didn't keep him out of trouble. There had been several things going on lately over the last couple of years, some sexual assault allegations, also there was that video of him hitting that old guy in the bar because the old guy didn't want anything to do with his Irish whiskey drink. McGregor took offense to that. He'd also destroyed a fan's phone. So, business ventures aside, he wasn't really staying out of trouble, unfortunately. So how does this all tie in exactly to where we're at today? Well, too much money, too many distractions. McGregor having 3 fights this year, he's got to remain laser focused. He's got to remain disciplined. He'd already made the comment that he's starting to consistently go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. So this is really the best thing that could happen to him. The fact that Khabib denied him a rematch, saying McGregor needs to earn it, that's really the best thing to happen to McGregor. So hence, you got the 3 potential fights for this year, not just the one hopeful rematch against Khabib. This will actually get him more ready, keep the hunger going, and actually give him a real shot against Khabib this time, assuming Khabib does beat Ferguson, if that fight even plays out, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later in the video. But to start, the first fight heading into January 18th, it's either going to be most likely against Donald Cowboy Cerrone, or it's going to be against Gaethje. Now, if it's against Cerrone, I think McGregor's got the edge here, and I'm not the only one. The betting odds on that fight are currently this. In a hypothetical matchup between Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone, the sportsbook favors the Irishman to get his hand raised. McGregor opened as a 160 betting favorite, meaning a $160 bet would win you $100. The comeback on Cerrone is listed at plus 130, meaning a $100 bet would win you $130 on the underdog. Now, even though the matchup against Cerrone seems like it'd be easier, you can never count out Cerrone. but this seems to be more of a warm-up fight for McGregor. Cerrone actually dropped his last couple of fights. He's currently riding a 2-fight losing skid with TKO losses against Gaethje as well as Ferguson. That snapped a previous 3-fight win streak for him. Now the other fight, the one against Gaethje, who happens to be on a 3-fight win streak with knockouts over Cerrone, Barboza, and James Vick. Gaethje's actually been campaigning for this fight since April earlier of this year after that spectacular first-round knockout over Edson Barboza. The talks kind of died down, but with McGregor's comeback in focus, this could be a potential matchup that is realized just a few months from now. Now, the bookies actually have this one a little bit different, and for good reason. Gaethje's coming off a 3-fight win streak, and these are some solid fighters, and Gaethje he's durable as hell, to put it mildly, and he's got knockout power, so he's going to drag this fight out, and if he lands one of those hard punches, it could be lights out for McGregor. With that said, I'm fine watching either of these fights. You know, obviously, I want to see McGregor win this first one, get that in the books. Whether it's against Gaethje or Cowboy, doesn't really matter. They'd be fun fights either way. They'd be great striking matchups. I don't really think it'd go to the ground. I mean, if anything, maybe Cerrone pulls his guard just to throw McGregor off his game. But I don't really see that playing out. I think it's going to be a great fight for the fans. Probably get Fight of the Night honors. Probably do great numbers on pay-per-view. Regardless, we'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm just glad McGregor's back in a few months. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, by the way. Which potential fight would you rather see, and who do you think wins? Let me know. So for the next bout, really kind of depends on who wins out of Nate Diaz and Masvidal next week. This is really going to be a great fight. They both come off some really exciting wins. Masvidal has faced off against the undefeated Ben Askren, who's had his second fight in the UFC going against Masvidal. And Masvidal finished that spectacular fashion in record time. Jump knee right at the beginning of the bout. That's going to go down in history. Now, Nate Diaz's last fight was equally as impressive. It was a lot longer, but the way he put out Pettis, the way he dominated that fight, and Pettis, by the way, as a lightweight, had quite a resurgence recently up until this last bout. So we got really lucky with this Masvidal-Diaz fight. There was just a few days ago that the USADA, there's a potential violation. There's an issue with one of Diaz's drug samples. They found trace amounts of something called LGD 4030, 4033 that is, which is a SARM. The interesting thing is that I don't think the Diaz brothers are dirty fighters. Masvidal didn't either. Seemed that 2 of the bottles of some organic vegan plant-based multivitamin Diaz was using was found to be contaminated with the compound. And that's kind of scary if you think about it, because the supplement that he took, it was a multivitamin, a plant-based one, organic, vegan. And if they're putting a SARM in there, maybe they're manufacturing the SARMs in the same factory as that plant-based multivitamin. That's pretty scary, especially with the more stringent testing that's going on. That almost cost us a really great fight next weekend. But I'm glad Diaz was cleared, and I'm glad to see this fight's actually going to take place, because that would have been extremely disappointing. Now, McGregor actually thinks Diaz will take this fight.
Masvidal versus Diaz.
I think Diaz beats him. He's got crisper boxing, way more experience, and I think Masvidal's had a good run. He's on a 2-fight win streak. The game is very forgetful, I believe. Our sport is. I think Diaz has enough in it to do him. I think he's in a better space. You've got to factor in that. What kind of space is the fighter in? Because everyone's the best on their day, you know what I mean? So I think Diaz beats him.
Now let's say Diaz does win. This obviously sets us up for a great trilogy. Now the funny thing is, McGregor and Diaz were never actually supposed to fight. McGregor was supposed to fight Rafael Dos Anjos for the lightweight title, who got injured, and they were having trouble finding another opponent. So Diaz stepped in on short notice. Didn't really have that much time, so McGregor said, you know what, just let's do it at 170. So McGregor, he stepped up 2 weight classes, put up a pretty good fight, but we all know how that first one played out. Now, because of the loss, which was McGregor's first in the UFC, he was obsessed. He wanted this rematch more than anything. He was campaigning for it hard, and he wanted the same circumstances. He wanted to do it again at 170 as opposed to lightweight. And that did happen, and McGregor closed that one out. It wasn't a dominant victory, but he still got it against the bigger man. So here we are. If this takes place finally at 155 lightweight, it'll be one for the ages. Those last 2 fights were definitely fan favorites. This one's bound to be as well. Probably get fight of the night honors. So if he goes against Diaz, it's going to be huge. We want to see this trilogy completed. If Masvidal ends up beating Diaz, the McGregor-Masvidal fight's going to be really good. That'll put Masvidal on a 3-fight win streak against pretty formidable opponents, and it'll be exciting either way. Now, next on the docket for McGregor to get that lightweight title back would be the winner of Ferguson versus Khabib. Khabib's obviously undefeated. McGregor would like nothing more than to be the first guy that defeats him. Plus, he wants to avenge that loss that took place last year. Now, if he fought Ferguson, that's also an exciting matchup. But as far as what if Khabib and Ferguson done recently? Well, so not only did Khabib beat McGregor last year, he also had another fight against Poirier. And Poirier, as a lightweight, has been pretty dominant up until the last fight with Khabib, unfortunately. I honestly thought he had a chance to close that one out, but I was definitely off on that. Pretty one-sided fight overall, not even close. Now, Ferguson's last fight, he took out Cerrone fairly easily. And you can never count Cerrone out, but Ferguson just destroyed him, to be honest. So this matchup with Khabib versus Ferguson, like I mentioned, they were planning to do this bout about 4 times. I don't know if this fight's cursed or what's going on, but either it was an issue with the white cut, an issue with injuries. If it actually does take place in 2019, that alone will be amazing. I don't think anybody doubts the fight will be amazing. I'm going to be more amazed if it actually takes place. These two have been trying to fight for years now, and just for whatever reason, it just never panned out. So if this fight takes place, let the better man win. Both of their records are phenomenal. You got Khabib at 28-0, which is ridiculous, being undefeated in MMA. And there's so many ways that you can actually get beat. And then you got Ferguson, 25-3, really dominant, tricky guy. He does get caught from time to time, and it's likely that Khabib will take him down. And the thing with Ferguson is he doesn't mind going to the ground. So Ferguson is obviously the underdog here. But his coach Eddie Bravo says he won't run away from the Russian on the ground. He'll look to submit him with the darts choke. Even McGregor, he's kind of thinking Khabib wins this one. He says, about Ferguson that he does go down. He does get dropped. His guard has been passed. He's been mounted by a lesser fighter, so McGregor basically would favor Khabib in that bout. Now let's assume everything played out according to plan and McGregor ends up fighting Khabib near the end of the year for the title. In Moscow is what McGregor wants to do. He wants to give it to the Russian fans. That'll be a record-breaking pay-per-view, no doubt. 2 of the best. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. How do you think this all plays out? Do you think he'll actually fight 3 times? Do you think he'll be able to stay out of trouble long enough? I think this will keep him focused. I think this will keep him disciplined. And if he does get that Khabib fight near the end of the year in Moscow and actually wins, that'll cement his legacy as possibly being the greatest of all time, not just one of the GOATs. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. It's going to be a great year regardless if you're a mixed martial arts fan.